Tonight on the Final Play. The Saints are sprinting through training camp with the preseason opener just 11 days away. We're looking at the excitement for multiple quarterbacks, how the reigning rookies of the year are handling their fame, and what's in store for the star of the 2018 draft class, Marcus Davenport.
So as he continues to develop those things, I think he'll steadily improve.
We've got more analysis from Deuce McAllister, plus see how both LSU and Tulane are preparing for their fall camps.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Final Play, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealer, built Ford tough, and Nissan.
Welcome into the Final Play. I'm Juan Kincaid, and what a first week it was for the Saints as training camp kicked off and the battle for one of those coveted 53 roster spots began. And here's something that's going to be worth keeping an eye on, the transition that could be in the making at quarterback. Sean Vazan gets us started tonight.
When it comes to Saints quarterbacks, one name stands above all the rest. Even at 39, Drew Brees is showing no signs of slowing down. But because he's 39, he's also realistic about how much longer his playing days will last.
I understand that I don't have a whole lot of time left, and so I'm going to stay in the moment. I'm going to enjoy every second of it because I know when it's over, it's over. You know, there's no coming back. I want to be able to look back and say, man, I gave it everything I possibly could. I enjoyed every second of it, and now I can move on to the next chapter of my life and be at peace with that.
Brees is the present. The timeline for him to become the past is unknown, but the pipeline to the future at the position may already be in black and gold. Taysom Hill is as unique a football player as they come. He popped up last year, not as a quarterback, but as a special teamer, running down kickoffs. He's back on special teams again this camp as the up back on punts, holder on field goals, and covering kickoffs, like he's done it for years.
Special teams, there's not a lot of thinking that goes into that. You just go down, you make plays, and you obviously have responsibilities and assignments, but it's all about going down and making plays.
Hill on special teams stands out, but as a true quarterback, he remains a work in progress. This is his first time practicing as a quarterback in the Saints system. Working with both the second and third team, he's made some impressive throws throughout practice, but has been off target at times as well. For Hill, progress will come, not from his arm, but from his feet.
The footwork that we do here is different than what I've done in the past. And so I'll tell you, one of my tangible goals right now is to make sure that I can mesh and get my footwork right in line with what Drew does, and try to mirror everything that he does.
To call him the heir apparent to Brees right now may be premature, but for Hill, it's all about improvement, one day at a time.
Overall, throughout any athlete's career, the goal is to be able to step on the field and say, you got better today. And so my goal is to make sure that I can be as good as I can. I still think I've got a lot of room to grow, and a lot of that will come with rep and time and all of that. But internally, I'm making sure that I'm taking steps forward every day.
Joined now by Saints Hall of Famer, the Saints all-time leading rusher, Deuce McAllister, and Fox 8 Saints analyst for this season. Why don't we start right there, Deuce? There's a lot of talk about Taysom Hill. We saw some of J.T. Barrett. We've seen some of Tom Savage. Look, I can understand why Sean Payton is enamored with Hill. He's an athletic guy that I haven't really seen at the quarterback position here. But if you're asking me, I think Tom Savage is ahead of him in that battle.
Well, one of the key things is the decision doesn't have to be made today. And then we're talking about in case something does happen with Drew. But, you know, you also have to have a long-term plan. And I don't know if they have the solution here on this roster today. You know, I think when you talk about Savage, yes, he's a serviceable quarterback. He has years in the NFL. He understands defenses. But when you look at what, you know, some of the intangibles of what Savage can and can't do, that's where you kind of say, long term, no. But, you know, Taysom Hill, he's a guy that I think they would have to tweak the offense. I think they would have to play to some of his strengths. It's always, when Sean and Drew have been together, it's always been rhythm and timing type of deal offense. I think that would change. But it's been up and down for him. Hopefully he continues to get the throws, get the reps, and hopefully he improves.
Preseason is going to be big for him. You are a running back, a former running back, so I'm sure your eyes have gravitated to that position group just because it's going to be an interesting storyline when the season starts when Mark Ingram is out for those first 4 games. You have Shane Vereen, you have Terrence West, you have the young guys like Trey Edmonds, you also have Williams. I mean, what have you seen out of that group so far?
Been surprised by Boston Scott, particularly with the pads when they've come on. I still want to see him get tackled to the ground. One of his attributes has to be able for him to get small or hide behind a big offensive lineman. And you haven't seen a lot of that, but you've seen enough of it. When you talk about the other guys, particularly the 2 vets, they have NFL experience. What's interesting is neither of them have really played in the South. And so when I say that, the heat, the weather has maybe had them a little sluggish. So I really look for them to take off next week, because they've had to adjust to this weather, and that plays a part because they're not only adjusting to the weather, but they're learning a playbook. And so some of those other guys, you talk about Williams, you talk about Boston Scott, they've been here. They just don't know what to do as far as Williams does, but Boston Scott doesn't know what to do as far as the NFL is concerned. It's going to be important for both of those, all of those guys really, to be able to separate when you talk about once the game starts.
Let's move to the other side of the ball. All eyes kind of gravitated when the pads came on to Marcus Davenport. What did you see out of Marcus Davenport?
It will be up and down for him. I mean, there will be opportunities where, he ran a stunt yesterday. He looked outstanding. He looked outstanding being able to move as far as a twist or is concerned, But when you talk about him just being able to go one-on-one, particularly against an Armstead, it's going to be a difficult situation. But it's only going to get him better. He has to continue to develop secondary moves. It's one thing to have a speed rush. It's one thing to have a bull rush. But do you have any counter moves? What can you do? Do you have a spin move in that toolbox? So as he continues to develop those things, I think he'll steadily improve.
His fellow rookie draft class mate, if you will, I think he's led the training camp in wild moments, that being Traquan Smith. I didn't expect to see it this quick, and the thing that stands out to me is a lot of these big players are coming when Drew is throwing the ball. It seems to me like they're developing a chemistry maybe even quicker than I thought they would.
Well, the last one, J.T. Barrett had a big play with him today, but, I mean, for the most part, it has been Drew. One thing that you see is his explosion. His ability to get up on the toes of a defensive back has been impressive, and then his leaping ability. He's had 2 catches on the sideline where there's good coverage. He just goes up and snatches the ball away. And I think as he continues to develop, that's going to be a position that they really like. I mean, because Ted Ginn Jr. can take the top off of defense. Now, if they have another receiver that can take the top off, that's only going to help that offense.
And when you talk about the offense, the offensive line, things have shifted. It's not necessarily the front 5. I think we know. I think everyone's kind of settled in at that starting 5. It's the depth position behind them. Who has kind of stood out in that regard?
Well, we've seen Josh Laribas at guard. We've seen John Fullington at guard. And this is really when Andres Pete in there. Those guys have been okay. It's a little different when the pads come on, particularly with what they want to do. And they're playing to get some pretty good defensive tackles as well. I think a guy like Bushrod and his versatility is definitely going to help. But, they have to continue to develop that depth on that offensive line. Will Clapp got an opportunity to take some center today, which will definitely help him. Cameron Tom has played a little bit more guard, which, they're going to see who fits in best as far as the depth is concerned with that offensive line. But I think it's imperative that not only you talk about your top 6 or 7, but who is 8, 9, 10 as far as depth is concerned.
Is there a player that that wasn't on your radar before camp, and now that camp has been through 4 practices, you kind of, all right, I see you a little bit. Is there a player that's standing out in that way?
I thought Kareem Moore had his best day today. I thought he had his best day today. Yesterday, Tommy Lee ran wild against the secondary, and I saw probably 3 or 4 times Kareem Moore really had an outstanding camp. And I think one guy, when you talk about coverage, that has probably been more surprising is Justin Hardy. He's probably had more pass breakups than you probably normally would have saw from him. And he's not only expected to cover kicks, but he is probably exceeding in being a true defensive back.
I'll tell you the guy that I had no idea to even put him on my radar, but now he's there is 85, Dan Arnold. They converted him from wide receiver to tight end. When the ball's thrown his way, he just seems to make the catch. And I think that kind of goes a long way that he's able to, when he's asked to do something, he does it.
Well, he's got to continue to develop as well. I mean, but you can see for him, it's a lot easier to play that move H tight end than it is, or traditional Y, than it is to be able to play it against a stacked wide receiver room. So for him, he's a big guy, 6'5", 6'6". He's probably running around 230, 240. If he can put on another 5 to 10 pounds, and just continue to learn that position, he may have a shot to sticking around.
When you watch practice day in and day out, there's a steady rotation, and I think it's the most evident at the linebacker position. Some days it's Manti, some days it's Robertson, some days it's Anzalone at the wheel, other days it's DeMario Davis, A.J. Klein at the same, or Mike. Nate Stupar gets in the mix as well. It feels like there's some quality depth there, and they're still trying to figure out the right kind of mix of guys once the season starts.
Well, and it'll be matchup based as well. I mean, depending on what a team does best, we feel like this is the best package. So for those guys, it's show that you're versatile, show that you can play the Mike, show you can play the Sam, and at times show you can play the Will. You know, some guys can play obviously 2 or 3 positions, and that's only going to help because, look, you're going to have some injuries. Somebody's going to get nicked up. Who can step in and help and play, and, you know, there's not a huge drop-off.
And I guess last question here, you know, we came into this training camp, at least my impression of this team was there's some serious depth across the board. And as we've watched practice, we haven't really seen, it felt like the first 2 padded practices were spirited workouts. We haven't necessarily seen that training camp grind yet, but are you seeing the makings of a deep and talented team in 2018?
Well, I definitely think that they're deep and talented, and then when you let Cameron Jordan off, you let Alex Okafor off, well, who are the next 2 defensive ends? Well, it's going to be at times, it's going to be Trey Hendricks, you know, and on the other side, it's going to be Davenport. Well, they've also slid Mitchell Ovin outside. Now you have Alex Jenkins, who's able to come on. Now you have Muhammad. So those young guys get an opportunity not only to work against the one offense, but they work against the one offensive tackles, and I think that's only going to improve and help that group.
We are 4 practices in the Saints training camp. Deuce, you miss it?
Not at all.
On that field? Not at all.
Not at all.
All right, he is Deuce McAllister. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
And you'll get more and more analysis from Deuce on Thursday night's game plan. We'll also take a look back at the standouts in camp thus far, and it's never too early to preview the team's first preseason game, August 9th in Jacksonville. Training camp game plan comes your way Thursday night at 10:35. Coming up, expectations for the upcoming season are extremely high, and a couple of rookies of the year are a big reason why. We'll tackle that and a lot more as training camp coverage continues here on the Final Play.
You're watching the Final Play.
And here's something that's nice to have back, our catch of the week, and it comes from a guy that's made quite a name for himself in such a short amount of time of camp. Traquan Smith, the Saints' 3rd-round pick, got behind the defense with a double post move. He's been the talk of camp so far, and he's got our first catch of the week. Alvin Kamara and Marshawn Lattimore, 2 players that took the NFL by storm in their rookie season and had a major impact on the Saints' success. So as both head into year number 2, expectations are naturally higher, and no surprise, they're okay with that. Here's Chris Hagan.
With another year in the league comes another set of expectations for the Saints' reigning rookies of the year. For Marshawn Lattimore, not a whole lot will change. He was a 1st-round pick with the potential to start right away at corner. He exceeded those expectations to become a rookie Pro Bowler. So as you'd imagine, he's expected to do it again and better. But Lattimore says his only concern is living up to his own standards.
And I only live up to the expectations of myself and my coaches. When my coaches want to see out of me, but anybody else, I'm just giving them a show out there from my hard work, from my training, from all that. So I'm not living to anybody's expectations but myself.
As for Alvin Kamara, this offseason and the last are night and day. From a 3rd-round pick with potential to a household name, he set the league on fire. However, toward the end of 2017, whether it was Kamara hitting his rookie wall, teams selling out to stop him, or both, production from number 41 took a dip. Now as he prepares for a new season where he won't fly under the radar, Kamara and the Saints have to be ready to counter defenses built to slow down their versatile running back.
That's just with anything. Once they see you one time, they know what to do the next time. But we're gonna keep working, keep evolving the game. It's just little things, little nuances of the game that maybe I didn't know last year that now I know. So that'll help me also. I'm not worried about it. Working hard.
That hard work started long before training camp too. Once news of Ingram's looming suspension broke in May, it became a no-brainer that Kamara would have to carry more of the load for the first 4 games. It'll be quite the change of pace from a year ago when the Saints could pick and choose when to let either one of their backs take over the game.
It was very, very strategic of like the quality of my touches, you know. So once you limit the touches, it's not like you just turn around and hand it off inside zone 20 times to get the 20 touches. I think it was a lot of things that spread me out, maybe in the slot or out wide, or, you know, my runs were kind of schemed up to where, you know, I could be successful, which is, I mean, it's good coaching.
For Lattimore and Kamara, right now is when their approach to the game off the field will reward them the most. They've both proven how good they can be. Now it's about showing how much better they can get.
I always had it physically, but mentally I got way better. I know what to expect now. I know what routes coming and, you know, all that. I understand the coverages more and just things like that. So, you know, I'm better mentally, you know, 100% than last year.
And from everything we've seen so far, so are the rest of the rookie standouts from a year ago, like Marcus Williams and Ryan Ramczyk. If they all take a step forward this year, it's safe to say the Saints are on solid ground. Reporting in Metairie, I'm Chris Hagan for the Final Play.
Coming up, Marcus Davenport faces a big transition to the NFL, but it's a familiar challenge, and he has plenty of help. Hear how he's coming along next.
You're watching the Final Play.
Now to a position that's still looking for someone to claim, defensive end, opposite of Cam Jordan. There are a bunch of guys going after it, including the player the Saints hope will eventually get it, in first-round pick Marcus Davenport. Here's Garland Gillen.
That's it. First-round pick Marcus Davenport put on the pads for the first time this weekend in the black and gold, and he learned a valuable lesson.
I can't get too close or they're going to throw me down. So, yeah, that was really the biggest thing. It's that simple.
Davenport's task of getting at the quarterback is a tough one. He's been matched up against one of the best in the league, Teron Armstead.
I just be trying to go against the best, you know. I like going against Teron, even though I lose and get thrown around. But, hey, I'm working, you know. I think that's something that's actually worth it to lose. And, you know, I know when I can beat him consistently, then I'm going to be ready.
I like Marcus a lot. I like his attitude more than anything. OTAs, he had some struggles. Just it was new to him, a lot of the speed in the NFL. But you can see first day he came out with some improvements. He's strong. He got some long arms. He got some tools to him. And with reps, the more he's doing it, he's going to be able to learn more about the game and how to win, how to beat tackles on a consistent basis.
Early impressions of Davenport are positive from his teammates and his coordinator.
He's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. I thought he had a good offseason, and I've seen some improvement out of him. He's still got a long way to go, but that's why we do what we do. I mean, that's why we're out here practicing.
Just like my freshman year of college, you know, I got to learn again, and I'm trying to pick it up fast. So, you know, I'm trying to, double down and get better in a hurry.
After 4 days of practice, Davenport is running with the 2s. Alex Okafor, who's recovering from an Achilles injury, is with the 1s. In Metairie, Garland Gillen for the Final Play.
Mark your calendars. Here's the Saints preseason schedule, and 3 of the 4 games will be live on Fox 8, including August 9th in Jacksonville, August 17th against Arizona, and the 30th of August against the LA Rams. Those 3 games carried live right here on Fox 8. They'll also be playing in LA against the Chargers on August 25th. Coming up, no one ever accused Dave Aranda of taking his job at LSU for granted. See how the Tigers defensive coordinator stays up on the game by watching the Saints. And Tulane football came up just short of becoming bowl eligible last season. Can they take that next big step this year? We'll take you uptown when the Final Play continues.
Watching the Final Play.
The Saints had a special visitor at Thursday's first day of camp, LSU defensive coordinator Dave Aranda, and he reminded us that the learning never stops, especially when you're a coach. Aranda's about to start his 3rd season at LSU, and his defense has gotten better each season. He understands what it takes to be better at his job, and it begins with being able to sit in on things like the Saints practice.
There's always going to be give and take. But when I come here, I'm really looking to learn. You know, I'm going to go in and watch some tape. And so I enjoy the opportunity to see new things and to see, you know, we always, prior to the start of the season, we always want to look at what people are doing, what are the reasons why they're doing it, how they're doing it, is that better than what we're doing? And if it is, let's do that. And so that's we have to look at it that way, I think, because otherwise you get, I just feel like things pass you by.
The Tigers are also hoping for some good news in the coming days when the NCAA reopens its case against cornerback Christian Fulton. The former Rummel Raider is currently serving a 2-year suspension from the NCAA for tampering with a drug sample. But the governing body has agreed to reopen his case after new evidence has been presented. One more yard and Tulane would have become bowl eligible last season. As much as coaches stress the need to turn the page to what comes next, how last season ended for the Greenies is still fresh in the minds of the players and head coach Willie Fritz, who's entering his 3rd season uptown. Since Fritz has been there, Tulane's kind of closed the gap on the American Conference's better teams. Now, if they can just close out games better, they'll leapfrog some of those teams this season.
We always talk as a football team and a football coach about finishing, finishing every play, every rep, every sprint. And, we had 4 games where we lost by a combined total of 12 points. So we were really close last year, but that doesn't count. Those don't count as W's. So, that's something that we've addressed through our off-season program. Spring football, summer conditioning is just making sure that we play our very best in the 4th quarter and we finish ball games out.
One of the best parts about returning to fall practice, the things that happen before the players even hit the practice field. Over at Tulane, walk-on Brian Newman was big man on campus last week.
And the other thing about Brian, and I'm excited about, he's earned himself a scholarship. He's got a
Hey, Dad.
What's up, Pete?
Got some news for you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, your boy's on full scholarship now.
You're kidding me.
No.
Wow.
Yep.
Congratulations, my man.
Thank you. Don't have to pay for books anymore.
The Greenies will be first to kick off the season when they open at home against Wake Forest on August 30th. It gets real the next day for 4 of our local schools, all on the road. Southeastern at UL Monroe, Nichols visiting Kansas, Grambling State at Louisiana Lafayette, and Southern playing at Texas Christian. The LSU Tigers, by the way, they start on the 2nd of September on the road in Arlington to face the University of Miami. Training camp continues for the Saints tomorrow morning, 8:50 start time. It is open to the fans. Go out there and enjoy, but stay hydrated. That's our show for tonight. For all of us here at Fox 8, I'm Juan Kincaid. We hope you'll join us again next Sunday night for the Final Play.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been the Final Play.